Have you ever heard of an airport that was too ahead of its time? Well, that's Berlin Brandenburg Airport for you. For almost a decade, it sat quietly, abandoned and waiting. The airport, a grand, state-of-the-art structure, was built to symbolize modern Germany's reunification. Instead, it became a symbol of bureaucratic chaos, poor planning, and management disasters. Its ghostly existence, complete with daily runs of a ghost train and an eerily empty hotel, is almost like something out of a movie. This is the bizarre and fascinating story of Berlin Brandenburg Airport, one of Europe's most controversial aviation projects. A dream for a unified Berlin. The story of Berlin Brandenburg Airport started in 1990, shortly after the fall of the Berlin Wall and the reunification of Germany. For years, East and West Berlin had been divided not just physically, but economically and culturally. Berlin needed a new identity, one that could reflect the fresh, unified Germany. A modern airport was seen as the perfect symbol. The three existing airports were outdated and inefficient, and a new state-of-the-art international hub was essential to keep Berlin on the global map. The initial plan was bold: create a world-class facility to rival those of other European giants like Frankfurt and Munich. This would cement Berlin's position as Germany's vibrant capital, but more importantly, it would symbolize the unity of the country after decades of separation. False starts and initial hiccups. It sounds perfect, doesn't it? But of course, things rarely go as smoothly as expected. Even before construction began, there were signs that things might not be as easy as it seemed. One of the first hurdles was choosing the location. It took 6 years to decide where to place the new airport. Eventually, the decision was made to build it next to the old Schönefeld Airport. This should have been an efficient choice, but it only added complexity to the project. By 2004, the airport was finally approved, but construction did not start until 2006. And of course, just as they began digging into the dirt, the financial crisis of 2007 and 2008 hit. Suddenly, it became difficult to secure contractors to fund and build the airport. This delay was just the beginning of a long, complicated series of setbacks: bureaucracy and poor management. One of the key issues behind the delays was the airport's complex management structure. In an attempt to cut costs, the project was broken into smaller contracts, each handled by different companies. While this might have seemed like a good idea on paper, it resulted in a fragmented and disorganized construction process. Coordination became nearly impossible. Moreover, the project was handled by politicians and bureaucrats, whose influence created constant tension with architects and engineers. The chief architect, Martin von Gerken, had a vision for the airport that was far from the commercialized, retail-heavy monstrosities found in many modern airports. He designed an airport with minimal shops. He didn't want passengers dragging bottles of whiskey around like trophies. This, however, clashed with the airport company's plan to make retail a major revenue stream. Eventually, new floors were added to accommodate more shopping areas, leading to a design compromise that didn't sit well with anyone. And that's not all. Berlin's then mayor, Klaus Bauerreich, insisted that the airport be able to accommodate the Airbus A380, the largest passenger plane in the world. Unfortunately, by the time the airport opened, the A380 was no longer in production. Meanwhile, there was little thought given to low-cost airlines, whose demands for efficient, no-frills terminals would soon dominate the European airspace. The epic fail, fire safety, and faulty designs. As the project trudged forward, the deadlines continued to slip. There were always more changes to be made. By 2012, the airport was supposed to be ready, but disaster struck at the last minute. Just weeks before the grand opening, an inspector discovered that the entire fire safety system was faulty. This wasn't just a minor problem, it was a deal breaker. The airport was deemed unsafe, and the grand opening had to be canceled. What followed was a shocking revelation of the scale of the project's problems. Over 120,000 defects were discovered in the design and construction of the airport. On top of that, the airport was plagued with technical problems, including more than 170,000 kilometers of incorrectly installed cables. How did things go so wrong? Simple. There were too many last-minute changes, too many different contractors, and far too much political interference. A change in management. In the aftermath of the 2012 disaster, the people in charge were forced to admit that they had failed. Martin von Gerken was fired, and a new management team took over. Harro Marin, a former CEO of Germany's largest railway company, was brought in to turn the project around. Unfortunately, Marin's investigation revealed even more problems. The defects had increased from 120,000 to a staggering 550,000. It was a mess of epic proportions. The cost of the airport skyrocketed, ballooning from an original budget of 2 billion euros to over 7 billion euros. At this point, many questioned whether it was worth continuing the project. Some even suggested abandoning it altogether. However, the German government had already invested too much money, and it was no longer feasible to scrap the airport. So the delays dragged on, and the opening dates kept slipping further into the future. The Ghost Airport. By 2019, the airport had been ready for years, but it remained completely empty. The lights were on, but no one was home. The luggage carousels turned every day, but without any suitcases to collect. The staff performed maintenance tasks like cleaning rooms and turning on taps to prevent them from going stagnant, even though the hotel was completely vacant. The ghost train ran once a day, maintaining the illusion that something was happening, but it was all a facade. In the end, Berlin Brandenburg Airport became a symbol of everything that went wrong with major infrastructure projects. Its disastrous delays, blown budgets, and lack of foresight made it a laughing stock in the aviation world. It was a story that became infamous, a cautionary tale about the perils of political meddling and poor planning. Finally, the soft opening in 2020. After nearly a decade of delays and management chaos, the airport was finally ready to open just in time for the COVID-19 pandemic. Talk about bad timing. The pandemic decimated the aviation industry and international travel came to a grinding halt. This, of course, was the worst possible time for the airport to open, but despite the circumstances, Berlin Brandenburg Airport finally began operations on October 31st, 2020. At first, the airport didn't have the rush of passengers it had originally expected, but this turned out to be a blessing in disguise. The quieter than usual opening allowed the airport to iron out technical glitches without the pressure of a large crowd. It was a soft opening, and the airport quietly dealt with its operational issues while the world was distracted by the pandemic. The airport's resurgence. By 2022 and 2023, Berlin Brandenburg Airport had overcome many of its initial problems. It had become a fully functional international hub. It had won the prestigious Airport Innovation Award in 2023, beating out competitors like Vienna, Frankfurt, and Amsterdam. More importantly, it had finally fulfilled its original promise as a modern, unified Berlin's gateway to the world. Today, the airport is one of the first in the world to incorporate artificial intelligence into its operations. AI is used to analyze aircraft handling in real time, making operations more efficient. The airport is also now known for its service quality, having earned a 4-star rating from Skytrax. It's no longer the punchline of jokes. It's a functional, forward-thinking piece of infrastructure that Berlin can finally be proud of. And there you have it, folks. The wild, turbulent journey of Berlin Brandenburg Airport. If you enjoyed this roller coaster of construction chaos and triumph, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing stories from the world of engineering and architecture. Got thoughts on this epic saga? Drop them in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.